What's up, a Cinema Shogun here, and how many of you are familiar with a show called Jackass? I used to love watching Jackass when I was growing up. It was a show that used to come on MTV back in the, I don't want to say the heyday of MTV, because the heyday of MTV is probably late 80s, early 90s, but in the heyday of MTV reality television. You know, sometime around the 2000s, MTV went away from playing music for the most part and started playing a lot of different, like, fun little reality shows. Jackass being one of them. They also had, like, Room Raiders, Next, Date My Mom. You know, little fun shows. Jackass was one of them. The Bam Margera show. Jackass is a show about, basically, it is what it sounds like. It's like a prank show and people just doing insane stunts, like balls to the wall type of stuff. And I mean that literally. These people would tape their balls to the wall and have Major League Baseball pitchers throw fastballs at them. And I'm not exaggerating or joking about that. It's probably one of the most insane shows I could possibly think of. And it definitely birthed a lot of other videos that are people trying to imitate it. It was in the early days of internet videos, and, you know, nowadays you go on YouTube and you see things that people do that are basically just trying to be like Jackass. It revolutionized how the internet worked. Like all of these stupid, weird TikTok trends that you see of people hurting themselves and doing stupid stuff, it started with Jackass. And recently, Jackass put out a new movie called Jackass Forever. And we have our familiar Jackass cast, but now they're 20 years older. All of these people are literally in their 50s and 40s, and they're trying to recapture, you know, the glory days when they were young and when they could just put their bodies on the line. And these old men are out there putting their bodies on the line again. And if you watch the movie, you might have noticed that one of the most popular people from Jackass, who actually had his own spinoff, the Bam Margera show, was not present in the movie. And the reason being is because he actually had a lawsuit against Johnny Knoxville and against Paramount and against some of the Jackass producers. He was going to be a part of the movie, but they wanted him to go through like a strict rehab. In fact, let's just go ahead and dig into the details, because Bam Margera has now dropped his wrongful termination lawsuit against Johnny Knoxville and Paramount Pictures after alleging inhumane, abusive, and discriminatory treatment last year in the making of Jackass Forever. Margera, 42, and I mean, look at this guy. He's 42 years old. He's obviously been on a lot of drugs. Appears to have reached a settlement. So they say that he dropped his wrongful termination lawsuit, but in reality, he reached a settlement with them. I'm not sure how much he got paid, but he has reached a settlement, according to court documents. The terms of the settlement are unknown, so we don't know how much he got. The Viva La Bam, that's what the Bam Margera show was called. The Viva La Bam star filed a lawsuit which also named directors Jeff Tremaine, Spike Jonze in August. He claimed that Tremaine, Johns, and Knoxville accosted him and coerced him into signing a draconian wellness agreement, or else he would be cut from all future Jackass projects. He also claimed that he wasn't given the opportunity to consult with his attorney before signing the document. I actually have the document right here, and it states, I, Bam Margera, fully understand that I will not be able to engage in negotiating a contract to participate in a new Jackass film unless I stay in treatment for a minimum of 90 days and abide by the rules set forth by the treatment center. I understand that I have to remain sober and only take medication approved by the medical staff of the treatment center. I understand that if I do participate in a new Jackass film, it will include conditions for my continued sobriety and mental health approved by the treatment center. Now, when I read this, one thing that sticks out to me is that this sounds the exact opposite of what Jackass used to be all about. I mean, I don't think any of us ever believed that these people were doing these crazy stunts while they were sober. No, these people were high out of their minds. The whole entire cast was high out of their minds 24/7, and they would just film themselves doing some of the most insane things that you can think of. So the fact that he has to be sober to be on this movie kind of blows my mind, because I thought the whole point is that you're high, you know, that you're messed up on something to actually do these things to yourself. But in all seriousness, when I read this, I don't view it as necessarily a bad thing, because I want what's best for Bam. And it's clear that he's been dealing with some things, and he's been dealing with drug abuse. I mean, I think we all experiment when we're younger, and Bam Margera looks like he never stopped experimenting. And I know that other people in the Jackass cast, like Steve-O, he's sober now. You know, Steve-O almost died. Steve-O almost killed himself from the amount of drugs that he was doing. And now he's sober, and he's reclaimed his life. He seems to be doing pretty well. And I mean, don't get me wrong. If you watch the new movie, he did attach over 200 bees to his penis, but he is sober. So, yeah, that did happen. You need to go watch the movie. It's insane. But, you know, a lot of these people have tried to clean up their act. And Bam Margera, I guess, hasn't. And I think they just wanted him to do so. So I don't know if I could really view these people as a villain for, you know, wanting him to do better for himself. Margera, who had struggled with substance abuse and been in and out of rehab, alleged that he was required to complete daily drug tests multiple times per day, both scheduled and unscheduled, for months. So multiple times a day, people just pop up on him and they want a drug test. Additionally, he claimed that the process and the prescriptions that Paramount's medical team gave him left him physically and mentally drained, depressed, and a shell of his former self. Now, this is one thing that I do not agree with. You know, people will talk about people having drug issues, but they're quick to prescribe you all of these prescriptions, which are just as bad, if not worse, than a lot of these street drugs that you get off the street. So he's saying that he's been feeling mentally drained, and he just doesn't feel himself anymore while he's on this medication. And I don't necessarily agree with them forcing a certain medication on him just to be a part in this movie. So that's something that I don't necessarily agree with. But I mean, I don't know what kind of medication they were giving him. I don't know if this is what is best for him. But just on the outside looking in, I can't sit here and necessarily agree with that. But I can't say that it's bad for him either, because we don't really know all the details. The former pro skateboarder claimed he was fired from the movie when he supposedly violated the agreement by testing positive for Adderall. So I guess he likes Adderall. But he argued that Tremaine, Johns, and Knoxville and Paramount knew full well he was taking the drug to treat his attention deficit disorder. So he got fired for taking Adderall, yet he says that the producers, Johnny Knoxville, Paramount Pictures, they know that he's on Adderall, that this is one of his prescriptions, basically. I don't know how true that is, but that's what he's alleging. Paramount's inhumane treatment of Margera cannot be tolerated. Margera was made to endure psychological torture in the form of a sham wellness agreement, and then ultimately terminated for his protected class status due to his medical condition and his complaints about defendants' discriminatory conduct towards him, says his lawyer. Knoxville previously commented on Margera's absence. "We wanted him all throughout the movie, but unfortunately that's not the way it worked out," he said in January. "It's really heartbreaking. I love Bam. We all love Bam. He's our brother, you know? You just hope that he takes it upon himself to get the help that he needs, because we all care about him a lot." And you know, I don't trust most people in Hollywood, or anyone in Hollywood for that matter. I don't know Johnny Knoxville. I don't know any of these people personally. But I would like to believe that the people on Jackass are pretty good people. They're not your everyday Hollywood celebrity. A lot of them got famous from making videos in their backyard of them shooting firecrackers at each other's buttholes. So, you know, they're not your typical Hollywood celebrity, although some of them, I guess, found a little bit of money, maybe a little bit of fame. So I don't want to believe that they're all bad people. I don't necessarily believe that Johnny's a bad person. What I do believe is that when you do these things together, like Jackass, it forms somewhat of a brotherhood. And even though you get older and you get families and you have separate careers and you grow apart, there's always going to be a connection there. And I feel like they do love Bam. You know, I feel like what they're doing was they were trying to do that for Bam's sake. You know, because at the end of the day, if it was about money, if it was just about money, putting out this movie and getting a quick buck, they could have let Bam come on there and be part of the movie. And he could have been high, and actually it probably would have been more entertaining. Do you want to see a 42-year-old sober man do these tricks and do these stunts, or do you want to see a 42-year-old man who is drunk off his ass doing these stunts? What sounds more funny, more entertaining, and more movie-worthy? You know what I mean? So I believe that if this was not in the interest of Bam Margera, then they would have just let him on there and self-destruct. You know, here's a couple of $1 million, do whatever drugs you want, come on this movie and act an ass. But instead, they wanted him to sober up. They wanted him to do better. They tried to take this moment and better him. And although they did leverage this job over his head to try to make him do better, I do believe that at the very least, and I'm not sure about this, but at the very least, I think they had good intentions in their mind when it came to Bam. But Bam has been basically equating this to the Britney Spears conservatorship. He's basically saying that he was signed away to a conservatorship like Britney Spears. And one thing that I will say also is, although Johnny Knoxville and maybe some of the producers on Jackass signed off on this, that doesn't mean they were aware of what was happening to Bam day to day. So it's very much possible that these people who were supposed to be Bam's friends did this with Bam's best interest in mind, but this wellness center is obviously maybe not doing what they should be doing. Maybe they're a little shady. Maybe they're a little extreme. I think we see that all the time. I think often parents maybe have a bad kid or something and they're trying to do what's best for their kid and they send them off to a certain place and the kid comes back worse because parents don't fully grasp about, you know, what's really going on in these places, you know. So often the places that you go for help are places that mess you up even more, or they try to make it to where you could depend on them. So I'm not 100% convinced that Johnny Knoxville did this maliciously. I don't think there's any explanation as to why he would do that, because I feel like if anything, they lost out on money by not having him in the movie, because people love Bam Margera. I love Bam Margera, you know, so I don't think that they did this maliciously. I think they were doing this with his best interest in heart, although I'm not sure about this wellness center and what he had to go through. But I'm glad the lawsuit is settled. I hope that they could talk it out like friends, come to some type of resolution, because I would really like to see them work together in the future. And I hope that Bam gets the help that he needs. But I want to know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video.